Call the meeting to order. Ask if you'll join us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And thank you for joining us for our December last meeting of 2022. Year has gone by fast. As you already know, there are masks and sanitizers back in the back, along with agendas if you need those. Agendas for this evening meeting were posted on the website, the Facebook page, the meeting room door, and of course, they're available back in the back. Meeting is being video recorded. It will be accessible through the Township website. Written minutes will be available on the website after the board approves them. We'll have 2 opportunities for public comment. After being recognized by the chair, we'd ask that you step up to the microphone to state your name and address. And if virtual, anybody with us virtually except Wendy? Okay, welcome, Ann. And virtually, if you just unmute yourself, you'd be able to be recognized by Todd, who's monitoring the virtual meeting. A reminder when speaking to speak strongly into the microphone so that you can be heard virtually. And with that, we'll do self-introductions of the supervisors.
Dave Bros.
Jeff Rogers.
Art Rutledge.
Bob Brown.
Jeff Reynolds.
And to my left, we have Todd Ziegler, the township manager. Virtually, we have Wendy Brown, our recording secretary, and we have excused Tim Bupp, our solicitor, from this meeting tonight. And with that, we can go back to the agenda. I will announce that we had an executive session immediately before this meeting, and it was just to discuss a number of year-end and year-beginning personnel issues, insurances, salaries, and evaluations and goals for the next year were some of the items that were discussed. So with that, we'll move to the minutes from our regular November meeting.
Make a motion to approve the November 2nd, 2022 meeting minutes.
Second.
Any comments or questions before we vote? Then, and you did make those couple minor changes, right? Okay, then we'll vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The November meeting minutes are accepted. We'll look at the treasurer's report for the month of November. Any questions or comments first? Still, interest is pretty nice, about $3,200 last month. Should note probably, Todd, that of that 703,000, almost 300,000 of that is distribution to the fire companies, right? 200 and right around 280. So that's a little bigger number because we have the annual fire company distribution in there. Questions on anything else? Or a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report for November. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. If no questions, we shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The November treasurer's report is approved. We have first opportunity for opening public comment. Anybody that wants to speak at this time? Virtually anybody? Hearing no one, we shall move on to ordinances and resolutions. Todd, did you want to introduce?
Yeah, this is one of the interesting ones, particularly for the aid or what have you. Some municipalities believe you need to approve the budget before you pass the tax resolution. I believe you need to be able to pay for your budget before you approve the budget. That's why you do resolution first.
All right.
That being said, we're required every year when we approve the budget to approve the tax resolution. This resolution is for general real estate at 0.074 mils. Then for fire protection, 0.46 mils. And these are the amounts that would save us 2022 prior for a few years. So it's unchanged for 23.
And unchanged for several years, actually.
Correct.
At least the county, at least the general tax purpose. All right, you have that in front of you. Any questions, comments, or motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2022-15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion before we vote? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. Resolution number 2022-15 is thus approved. I believe we're tabling this next one.
Yeah, I gave everyone a copy, and also have it on the board here. If you recall, a couple of months ago, Jeff Chu, Township engineer, recommended that we re-adopt our stormwater ordinance, stating that the regulations have been loosened a little bit by DEP. And looking at it a little closer, if we adopt the current DEP model, it actually makes it more strict for Shrewsbury Township. I don't know, not everyone was on the board. Jeff probably recalls, some of you were on it, it's around 2015, 2016. What it is, when it comes to stormwater under the original ordinance, which was the DEP model, if you had 1,000 square feet, 5,000 square feet, you had to have an engineered stormwater plan. So that really put anyone almost in a 2-car garage. And you know, stormwater plans could cost you $2,500, $3,000. So what the board had done at that time, if you look at that first column that says current rents, we still require a stormwater plan, but it's one that you as the homeowner can prepare as long as it's legible, the information is accurate, it does not need to be engineered. So I just showed these two as examples. So at 2,000 square feet, 3,000 square feet, under our current regs, we do not need an engineered stormwater plan. Under what's proposed under the new DEP model, what they did is they loosened it up. They went from 1,000 to now 2,000. So they gave people grace of about 1,000 square feet. But so my recommendation is, my conversation with Jeff Chu is that that's the most substantial part of the change, was these thresholds for requiring engineering plans. My recommendation to the board is that we do not do anything with it at this point in time. I get time, I'll look through to see if there's anything other significance. But it seems to be working well. I've talked to Keith, it's working well. We still do have stormwater plans for anything over 500 square feet up to 5,000. It's just not, you don't mandate that it's engineered.
Yeah.
I think unless there's any objection on the board, that we're better to stick with what we've had, which makes it a little easier on and less costly.
Anything we can do to save residents money
Everybody okay?
is definitely something I'm going to support.
Public phone burden.
Yeah.
Someone that just wants to put up a 2-car garage.
All right. Looks like the board all concurs with that. The next item, as I think the board knows, we've been working for some time with New Freedom to come up with a cooperative agreement to establish a joint commission to oversee recreational, not so much facilities, but activities that take place, trying to share some of the facilities and some of the administration, because it would include hiring a director, but the first year of that director's salary is covered by a grant, and then it recedes 25% for the next 3 years. At the end of the 4th year, then we would be responsible. However, the goal is that that person would create enough activities that are paid for to pay for their salary. So what we have in front of us are the cooperative agreement and then their bylaws. The bylaws, I think, were prepared by an attorney, and Tim Bupp, our solicitor, has been involved in preparation of both of these and has no problem with either one. Todd or I picked up a couple small things in the bylaws, but again, we're we're not looking at accepting them right now. We're looking at approval to advertise. And we haven't seen anything that is significant enough that it would affect an advertising decision. So I'll open it for questions if anybody has.
Question here, but is this how we're gonna pay for it?
Yes,
Okay,
at least initially to establish
so I just would go look at the census taken and start where we have is.
based on the census, right?
Okay,
And we did, if you recall, we are responsible for the benefits the first year, and we did budget funds for you.
Right, that's all we'd be paying. So it's kind of to establish a fund to get it going. Kind of like we did with schema when we started that. But you're always can come back with questions. I mean, we're just voting to advertise it right now.
Advertisement, we still have next month to discuss it, debate it, question it.
okay.
Just one clerical thing. Our page numbers are off.
I will pass that along.
Oh, you don't like 3 of 2?
Or 8 of 2.
Or 7 of 2.
All right,
But no, I'd make a motion to advertise or to
approve advertising.
It's actually advertising an ordinance for next month, which would authorize us to enter into the intergovernmental agreement.
yes, I will make a motion to enter into the governmental agreement and therefore advertise it.
The ordinance to adopt the agreement.
Thank you. Advertise to adopt the ordinance next month.
All right, we have a motion to adopt. We have a motion basically to approve advertising the ordinance next month. Is there a second?
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Questions from anybody before we vote? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved the advertisement. And then Todd, you want to speak a little bit to?
Yeah, we don't necessarily need to take any action tonight. You had before you, one of the goals that the board assigned to me last year for 22 was to go through our ordinances. Just based on something that maybe I picked up or an issue that we experienced over the year or the previous year where we needed some clarification, what have you, on various ordinances. So what you have are different chapters that identify some language, most of it relatively minor. I'd say the more significant is I and staff don't believe that chapter 14 is necessary because mobile home parks are addressed through the SALO subdivision land development ordinance. We don't believe we need a separate standalone ordinance. That was common many years ago. So that's one example. But basically, I see this as a 2-step process. Zoning, which is, I'm sorry, the subdivision land development, which is the SALO, is chapter 22. And that's a land planning ordinance. And then chapter 27 is zoning, which is also land planning, land use. Both of those ordinances have to go through the Township Planning Commission for review and comment, back to the board. And then the board, if you're comfortable with it, will forward it on to York County Planning Commission for their review and comment. Those 2 chapters. So I would suggest that we take a path that we keep those 2 on the same track. And then all the other chapters, we could adopt under one ordinance. We would not need a separate ordinance for each chapter. So I don't know, yeah, I know you just got these on Friday, so you may want a little time to look over on this month and we'll come back in January. To authorize or have a discussion, what you like, don't like.
What I think tried to do was to, in some cases, reduce some of the regulations, at least that's being proposed, like not having to require signs in front of a residential development like we require now. You know, things like that would make it a little easier perhaps for developers or a little
Legally,
less
it should be a
costly.
developer
Right,
decision.
right.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I remember that one specifically, but just a lot of things that have come. I think we were talking about looking at berms and looking at, lessening some of those requirements and landscaping. Like not having to landscape a lot between the same zoning. Just where where you'd have to plant a lot of trees, but you're not changing facing a new zoning district, things like that, that we didn't think maybe were necessary. And then maybe other things we had to define better.
Like the one with the barking dogs.
Yeah.
I know it almost looks a little silly when you read that.
I know.
However, we did have a resident in Township who, had to testify because I couldn't be a witness, because I wasn't present to hear the constant barking and so forth. They had recordings, and we ended up going to district court. We went before the judge, they provided the recordings to the judge and so forth, and she did rule against the Township. I don't fault the judge for that. Because the reason is, the language it wasn't clear. It was nothing definitive. It said either continuously or intermittently for an extended period of time. What does that mean? That means something different to all of us in this room. We probably all have different, 8 different interpretations. So I got this out of, looking at other municipal ordinances with barking dogs. And there's a whole array of the way people do it, but it's constant barking for a measured period of time, number of periods of time within a span. So again, this is one that we can change.
Well, more than once, I know in my area, I've heard dogs barking though for 30 seconds, more than 3 times within 20 minutes.
We can change.
I mean, that seems,
30 seconds, so when we
think about it, I guess it's longer than
like much 30 seconds for
Is that just an act?
the barking dog too.
well, I know, and I do too, because
With the
they're yappy dogs. It's not that the neighborhood hears them, they're in the house.
Yeah.
Is that would pertain to an ag area, like if you have something that was braying and, every now and then if you're out in an ag district and you take a calf away from the cow, you're on a little.
No, plus you're also protected under the right to farm.
Yes, I was gonna say that's under the Farm Act.
Well, maybe a good idea is to let the board have time to go through it.
Probably to take a good look at it this month and come back. And if you have questions, I welcome them before the meeting.
Right.
Or research.
But there are some where you're looking for more policy input from the board before you kind of.
Particularly with the zoning of the Saldo, we tackled some of that.
And just before you hit that, by the way, too, while we look at the comments, it also hasn't been passed by the solicitor yet, which we would have to do as well. So it's going to get some. Go ahead.
Yeah, generally speaking, the first one I have there looking for some direction is property maintenance. We have some buildings, as you know, throughout the township that are collapsing and really aren't safe. Those can be addressed actually through uniform construction code, through South Penn code consultants. I think when we get to a point and we want to pursue that, I think that needs to be a policy set by the board if you want to take that path. This here would be one where some municipalities have an actual property maintenance code, like the deck's falling down. But if it's falling down to the point that it's unsafe, that again is under the Pennsylvania UCP. So it's just something to think about in the back of your mind. I'm not looking to create a new code chapter because that requires enforcement and we just don't have the.
But it's just like on a farm, you're going to have structures aren't always paint it real bright, and neat and clean, but if they're safe, you know, I think on a farm, that's okay. On the other hand, if it's a fallen down big chicken house, like there's an example in the township, and it's not safe if somebody will wander into it, then to me, that's something we would want to be able to say, you either need to make this safe or you need to tear it down, because there's a cost to do both of those, and we don't want to require unnecessary cost of anybody either. So again, I think that's maybe something, think on it for the next, excuse me, the next month.
Yeah, the one Art was talking about, the one that comes to mind on is in Taylor Hill.
I was gonna say, you're talking Taylor Hill or the chicken house?
Block building. Anyway, chickens, I just added that because we had the visitor last month. You know, we talked about whether it should be 3 acres, 2 acres, 1 acre, no acres.
Two seems reasonable.
I don't know where the 3 came from, because that was in place before I was here. My gut tells me that it probably tied in with the other provision of the ordinance that has to do with the ag district and livestock. If you have 3 acres or less, there is a maximum weight limit of the animals per acre. So I'm thinking that 3 acres coincides with that provision as well, because under 3 acres in the ag district, if you have anything less than 3 acres, you can't have horses, cattle, or anything. If you have more than 3 acres, you have to devote a minimum of 1 acre for the livestock. And you can't have more than 1,000, I think it's 1,000.
1,000, it is.
Live weight per acre. Basically 1 horse per acre. Under 3 acres.
I thought there was also an issue like if you had like chickens on a small lot, then you're also inviting rats and mice and.
Yeah, I mean,
And other
that's
things.
just, you're gonna get those. Certainly.
Oh, they come with it.
Yep, they come with-
We have, do we have many, I guess, lots that are, you know, that say,
Residential?
that are less than 2 acres? Sure, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a few, you know, you get into what's.
I mean, I don't, again, I think this is something we should think on and not answer tonight, but
Right.
part of it is, what's the spread like throughout the township? 3 acres does seem like a lot to me in this day and age where people want to be a little more self-sufficient, want to have some chickens, but on the other hand, if you got 1 acre lots, it's probably too small because of just what Jeff said. They are known to attract infectious diseases for one thing, and rats and mice. And of course, it all depends on how well people take care of it and keep it up. So I think all something for good thought, because I don't know what the right answer is, but something we should visit at least.
The ones where we get complaints, we don't know about driving down the road, where there's a poop in someone's backyard. There's always been driven, and it's been in like the southern farms, and you know, all higher density neighborhood. But the complaint has always been driven by rats.
And of course,
Neighborhood seeing rats.
and the thing is, if you have, even if you have 3 acres and you put it right on your property line, that's not good either. So I think that's just something we can all think about a little bit too. And should be, because it comes up every year and every municipality has something different. You know, some allow them in townhouses, you know, with hardly any lots. You have them in Baltimore City, you know, you can have them in your backyard in the most densely developed area. If you've got enough room for the chicken to walk, you can have a little pen, I think.
Raise chickens for golf.
And say they've got the rats to take care of.
So we have the small wireless facility.
Yeah,
to look
again,
at.
I provided you with the sample ordinance that was provided by.
This was just done.
Yeah.
It's very recent after the new legislation, so.
And this is about regulating small transmitting antennas that would be on placed on utility poles. So forth. So,
If you drive through Ocean City now, you'll see them on most of the light posts. Yeah. So again, I think that would give us time to read this and think about that. We want to protect ourselves as much as we can, but some of the new acts took away some of the things we can do to protect and preserve things. So we want to do as much as we can,
Right.
I think.
Under the sallow, berms, I think we're okay there. We just need.
There was some question about defining them, right?
Yeah, because right now it's very vague.
Right.
It says, it needs to be landscaped.
So it was more to kind of give some better definition to it.
Under zoning, something to give some thought about, and this again, I'm sure going to the local government advisory committee.
Yeah.
Often sees the issue of accessory dwellings.
Yeah, actually,
They're mostly associated with people that's gonna care for a sick or an elderly family member on the property, and they have a separate dwelling unit. Under our ordinance, you can have that, but you have to enter into a written agreement that when the person no longer resides there, you have to eliminate that dwelling. Which, on one hand seems a little hard, but on the other hand, then, and we've run into it in the situation where that's happened, they haven't used it, but then a new owner comes along,
And wants
buys the
to,
property, and they think it's a rental.
but they don't have the development
And they
right
don't
to
have
use it.
development rights or, so you have a potential that if you don't require it to be removed, that you end up with, 2 units on one parcel.
I did pull a lot of the LGAC information out. I haven't had a chance to review it all. I do know other municipalities have that same requirement, and there are many that don't. It gets a lot of attention, especially in the higher populated areas. Yeah, I think that deserves a look at.
We're gonna look a little closer then for the recreational lodge versus a private club. I don't know if you recall the mansion down through
Yeah.
the Susquehanna Trail when that came through. They want to put in a recreational lodge, and we ultimately denied. But we need to clean up that language a little bit, make that a little clearer. We have recreational lodge, but then we also have recreation. We also have a lodge, recreation and vacation, I believe it is. So we're gonna work on that, clean that up a little bit, and recommend that it be pulled out of the ag district and allow it in a commercial district or somewhere else like that. And then the last thing, give a little thought to. I know we discussed this before about possibly rezoning a couple of parcels along Strawberry Road. There's a mix right now, depending on which side of the road and which parcels, as to whether it's suburban residential receiving or rural residential receiving. We as staff think it might make a little sense, since it's between 2 densely populated boroughs, to maybe make that suburban residential in that entire area between Freedom and Shrewsbury. And one of the reasons, and the main reason for that is, well, two, it fits right in with the other populated areas. But more importantly, we really drive for open space preservation, farmland preservation, and we like to see development rights lead the ag district. But in order for that to happen, we have to have
You have to go somewhere.
to take it out.
Yeah.
So that's something else to give a little thought to.
I would invite anybody to ask you questions or present their opinions beforehand. We can all look at that. If you think we need just an informational session before a board meeting to look at it, I think as long as we're not making decisions, we could do that, because there are a lot of questions back and forth. So but next month will go fast with the holiday time. So but if it would seem advantageous to meet just with that as a item.
Between Christmas and New Year's?
No, prior to prior to the.
between Christmas and New Year,
Okay.
prior to the next board meeting. That's between Christmas,
Now there's a hearing between Christmas.
between here and New Year.
Okay,
So,
we'll see what kind of feedback I get.
okay. Any questions before we leave that? I think it takes well put together and a lot of work that went into it, Todd, so we appreciate that from you and the staff. And I think we just need a little time to digest it, form our own opinions. Okay, we are in the subdivision and land development. We have a bond reduction, Todd. It's been
Yeah, this is
requested.
For Isaac Farms, it's security reduction number 2 of the request. The revised, states here revised securities based on construction estimates that were posted for $174,900. They determined the amount of public security can be reduced by 22,000, leaving a remaining construction balance of 5,000. And that 174,900 was the original. And with the 10%, it would actually be a remaining balance of $5,500. The engineer has reviewed this and going to copy his letter. So we just need formal authorization to release that bond, leaving a balance of $5,500.
I'll make a motion that we pass the request for public improvement bond reduction of lot number 55.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accordingly reduce the bond that's associated with lot 55. Any questions before we vote? We should vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The bond reduction has been approved. I believe the next item has been deleted at the request of the developer.
Yeah, since the agenda was prepared, we had staff review meeting yesterday. This particular developer, shops in Shrewsbury, which is the True Value property. You recall we have a conditional land development plan approved. It looks like they're going to be taking potentially a different direction. So they've given second thought, and I received an email where they're rescinding their request to withdraw. So we do not need to take any action.
This is where 2 negatives make a positive.
Something like that.
Okay.
All right, well, we move on to just a plan reapproval.
Yeah, this is just a plan of reapproval, and I would request that you actually reapprove this in 3 months.
Okay, question or a motion?
Make a motion to approve the plan reapproval for an additional 3 months.
I'll second that.
Now we have a plan and we have a motion and a second to add another 3 months to the approval for Chestnut Commerce Center plan. Questions? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We've approved another 3 months. Reports, managers report up first. Anything you particularly want to?
A couple
Okay, so-
things I just want to
Good.
add here. I'm still working on gathering information for the Campbell Road request for the Freedom Fire Company for the stop part.
Okay.
So I haven't forgotten that. We had some communication from Penn Waste. We questioned how they were going to handle Christmas tree collections this year. Because in the past years, we would count that as one bag, equivalent of one container. Since we have the large 96-gallon toters now, we send an email and ask how they be addressing that. So they got back to us, and what they're going to do, and they've offered at no cost to the township, is they are going to have a special Christmas tree collection on Saturday, February 28th.
And a bonfire on the 29th.
No, they actually are taking all their Christmas trees up to H&H contractors up in Spring Road.
Okay.
In the March. So we will, get that on our website, social media, and through the phone blasts, and, I'll get out, there'll be a newsletter going out this month, I'll make sure it's in there as well.
That was Saturday,
Saturday, January 28th. Which we thought was a little late, but, given that it wasn't in our contract and they're doing it at no cost to us. But I did learn from our district supervisor that there's actually 5 other municipalities that are being collected that same day, so.
oh,
Yeah, so Christmas tree collection, he said, is a big thing.
Good.
have they, no response yet to our request to reconsider what's charged for a second?
I have not heard back.
Okay.
Um,
We've asked them to take a look at the requirement where people need a second large trash bin to charge something less than double the cost, as it isn't double the cost for them to pick it up. So we'll keep following that through then, right?
Yeah, and then the second thing, I wanted to bring up and get the approval, hopefully from the board. Looking at, and the reason I'd like to do it now is so that I can get it again in the newsletter. With our move slated for the middle of February. And to allow us to have a smooth transition from this building to that building, and not having people go to that building and this building. I'm requesting permission from the board, we would all be moving, but to close the office to providing any services on Tuesday, February 14th and Wednesday, February 15th. I was going to do Monday and Tuesday, but I thought Monday I'd like to be open. So if people had issues that come up over the weekend, we can address those on Monday.
And then we'd be reopening.
Then we'd be
On
reopening
Thursday
the
at the
new
new-
building on February 16th.
Okay. Does that need a formal motion? For a consensus?
I don't know the needs, if a consensus is fine.
Okay.
I'm
good with
fine
it.
with as long as the building's
Okay.
ready.
Yeah.
All right. You all right? What if the building's ready sooner?
Um,
Don't think there's much chance of that.
I don't think there's much of a chance from what I heard
yeah,
earlier.
I think so, Brian.
Okay. I think you have consensus.
Okay, thank you. And that is all that I have.
The only thing that might be worth mentioning, because you've had a couple phone calls, is that we did get a slight increase from the trash hauler.
Yeah, I was gonna address that now, but we can.
No, you can-
Since we're talking about trash, is, you do have a copy of the letter, and we put it on our website. Our
Went-
Facebook page.
went out on text.
page, And what have you. In our contract, the hauler is allowed to pass along any increase in tipping fees. So for 23, the increase to the trash bill will be for the year $1.88, which is 47 cents a quarter. And we did have one very irate person call us.
Okay. We have no report, any questions to Todd before we leave that on anything? Right, we have no report from the solicitor, nothing that required one. You have the zoning officer and code enforcement report in front of you. Are there any questions on that?
We not had Keith Sewage enforcement officer report.
Yeah.
I will urge him to do a double report next month.
Again, it's all well detailed, a few more new than closed, but kind of hanging in there at around the same numbers, and progress seems to be moving on all of them, and we thank Todd
You
for.
have detail, I don't know how detailed you read it, but there is one particular one that we had slated for sheriff sale.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because they did not, pay their fines and they didn't communicate with us and so forth. And we postponed it for 60 days to allow that property owner to try to get that addressed. I asked the solicitor to actually cancel that sheriff sale. The issue has not been resolved, but I was aware. The individual has some medical condition, the onset of what appears to be dementia. And does not have any family and so forth, and It's just not ready to do that, so.
Okay.
'Cause I don't think he fully understands, what's going on and what have you, so we're gonna do the lean process. So. Just wanted to explain that if you saw that.
Yeah, you're trying to work with him as best we
Right,
can.
yeah, I'm still trying to work with him and, anyone's familiar with dementia, the conversation,
Mhm.
here and there, so.
Very repetitive.
Yeah.
And
And
I,
I do know that the individual does not have any family in the family, so. We're trying to work with them and work through it.
we should certainly show some compassion and try to
John.
work through it with him.
The Dollar General,
Yes.
is that the landscaping up front?
Yes,
And
same with the exit four,
Yep.
parking is a landscaping.
gotcha. And that same the first notice was given April 15th. And then, or we're 11/14.
11/14, I believe I gave them till April 15th, because of the this late in the year. I'm giving them the spring through the plantings.
Okay, so they need to take action by the date.
Yes, by April 15th.
Gotcha. Okay,
And I gave it to them now, it's getting too late in the season, a lot of plants aren't available.
I would say, I think we
But you have
first,
plenty of notice to do plant.
okay, all right, good. Yeah, I did notice that the other day that it still hadn't been addressed. Thank you.
Further questions on that report? Anybody? All right, we will move on to the monthly maintenance department report. Any questions on that or anything Todd wants to add?
No.
You have the engineer's report. Again, all the changes are marked in red. If there should be any questions on that or comments from Todd. Stan, I don't know if there's anything you would like to offer to the board.
Evening, Stan.
I would, thank you. Stan Walters, I'm your emergency management coordinator. And so I just wanted to reference something else that had come up earlier when Todd talked about the potential for hazardous structures, like, old barns and things that might be falling down. That is something that I pay attention to as well. So I can contribute to that effort. Of course, in the county, there's also with the planning commission, they have some information on blight, what's called blight.
Right.
And I think you and I may have been at a
Right.
meeting that they talked about that a while ago. So I can certainly report to Todd if I see those kind of
Right.
structures. The thing that we need to consider is that sometimes a homeless population might find such a structure and go in it. And then if it were to collapse, there could potentially be a property owner liability there. So
That's a good point.
that's something you want to consider. Schema has been invited and has been participating in a work group that the County Office of Emergency Management put together for those EMCs that have any section of Interstate 83 within their planning area. And that would be us. We have the section from the border up to the north end of the township here, just south of exit 8. The purpose there is that we meet and we discuss incidents that have occurred. So we share experiences with each other. And also there's a PennDOT representative at these meetings. We're meeting once a quarter. And so as a result of the last meeting, I am going to be contacting the owners of the Walmart shopping center, the Giant shopping center, because what we're doing is looking for places where we could take commercial traffic if PennDOT closes 83 due to like a snowstorm, where we could take the commercial traffic off and get permission to park them in some of the nearby lots to get them off the highway. So that's something we're looking at. In addition to that, the Susquehanna Trail is the detour route for Interstate 83 if there's an incident out on the highway. But PennDOT's priority for plowing is after the interstate, it's 2-digit roads, then 3-digit roads, and then 4-digit roads. That's their priority. So the trail is State Route 3004. So you have a major interstate backed up by the lowest priority road. So we have a commitment from PennDOT that in the event of a snow incident going on, that they will ramp up their priority if the trail becomes the detour. So if there's an incident on 83 and the trail becomes the detour, they will put a greater priority on the trail to keep the detour route open.
How did that happen?
Well,
That it wasn't already that way is what I mean.
so the way, I don't know how they grade the roads in terms of how they decide what's a 2, a 3, and a 4-digit road. And of course, you have to go all the way over to Stewartstown on 851, which is a 3-digit road, to get to 24, which is a 2-digit north-south road. So that's a long way off the interstate. And obviously, the trail is the one that's marked. So when you get off of Interstate 83 at exit 4 or exit 8 or even the exits to the north, you'll see the red, blue, or green detour signs that they're not very big. They're only that big, but that's what the public is supposed to key into in the event that they're forced off the highway, is to follow the green detour, the blue detour, the red detour. And of course, our response agencies, and particularly the fire police, are who would man those intersections and be helping direct traffic. So just, I wanted to let you know, so how that happened, that the trail remains a 4-digit road, I don't know. It could be because of the up and down hills or the density of the blacktop. I don't know how they decide why 24 out of Stewartstown is a 2-digit road when this is 4, but
Sounds like they need to redigit the road.
Yeah.
but
Shave off a couple.
the important thing is that they will enhance their treatment of the trail in the event that it becomes an active detour for an incident on 83. Okay. The final thing is the York County Office of Emergency Management a few years ago, before COVID, started having an end of year meeting for all the EMCs called the year-end after action report. And it's kind of a review of all the incidents in the county, and the OEM staff reviews incidents and then allows EMCs to make comments if it was in our area. In addition to that, there are also some awards that are given out each year. Some of them are presented by the county OEM staff, and some of them are actually other EMCs nominate each other and vote for their peers. And so last night I was honored to receive the Spirit of Emergency Management Award, and I was told that I was awarded that unanimously by my peers in the county. So
That's wonderful.
it was a surprise.
I can tell you, you deserve it.
So thank you.
Absolutely.
And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put together kind of a year in review report. So I'll have that out to everybody early next year.
Well, congratulations. That's a great question while you're there.
Yeah.
Could, in this 83 group, could Stan be any help, Todd? And for some time now, we've been trying to say you need mile markers on 83 for the fire department to respond. Todd has written another letter to try to get response. Is that something you could address in one of your 83 meetings?
I'm sure I can. So what are you looking for? The in between 1/10 of a mile markers?
Let Brad kind of, he can.
Yeah, so on Route 30 and 83, they have a mile marker every mile, and that would save us a tremendous amount of time. So the 911 dispatchers get a call mile marker 4, because that's where the person actually answers the phone. It costs us 8 miles if we go the wrong direction, which is about
Okay, I will bring that up at the next work
This is
group.
timely because Todd just sent another letter trying to get some
Yeah,
attention.
They did reply. And-
Did they?
and, directed me to another individual, so what I'll do is I'll just copy you on the email, so you know what our communication today.
Sure, yep,
Great.
and I can bring county OEM into that discussion as well.
Well, congratulations again. You know, we always think you do an excellent job for us. I'm glad others do too. All right, you have the planning commission zoning hearing board report. Hearing no questions on that. We have, I guess under committees, Todd, you have a comment about sewer capacity mapping.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show you this, I'll take a minute or two. We've been asked by Shrewsbury Borough and New Freedom Borough to try to get a pretty good handle on what we believe future needs will be for sewer EDUs, which we've done. We tried to go a little step further to help them in their planning. So, you know, we have our GIS system. So what we did is, this is the primary and future growth areas around Shrewsbury, Freedom, Railroad, what have you. And then what we did is, see if I can get these guys. Then what we did is, or when I say we, I didn't do it, CS Davidson did it for us. What they did within this growth boundaries, they provided these parcels that you can see here. These are all vacant parcels with potential development within the growth boundary. So this tool will actually allow us to click on this and add notes, and we can, it'll be an interactive document that we can actually change. We think this parcel might need, 20 EDUs, but down the road they only need 10 or they need 50. We can go in so we can track our needs better. And then what we also had them do, try to make things a little easier.
And we're looking at the entire development envelope now.
Correct. What you see in the green, turn this off. The dark green and the light green. The light green is primary growth. The dark green is future.
Okay. All right.
So these parcels are within those growth boundaries. And
Can you take a question from Phil?
yes,
You missed a meeting one. I'm working.
what I can tell you, we just got this yesterday. I have not proved it. Where I can tell you, CS Davidson got their data, it was all the tax parcel. The county. So it depends how they have it coded. So, yeah, but we have the capability to go back through, and we will. But once we get this all fine tuned, but then the other thing we did, which will be helpful to Shrewsbury Borough, actually, is we put an overlay of their sewer mains. And they have the actual directions of flow and so forth. So they'll be able to see, this actually shows pump stations. So they'll be able to see where we have vacant lots, where our EDUs are needed and what lines they tie in and so forth. So I just want to share with you that
Good.
we're working
Very
on
nice.
that. Trying to get some good solid numbers for them.
Good.
All right. That's all I have on that. And the other thing is we're trying to schedule a sewer committee meeting, a township sewer committee meeting.
Right.
Hopefully in December yet.
Has there been an update on that at all?
No.
That was my fault. No, we were supposed to have that updated this afternoon and I forgot.
Would it be possible for me to get a copy of what you just had on there, a review also?
Yeah, I'll see if I can print it out.
Okay.
I haven't tried it, but I probably can.
Good.
I mean, Terry's already gone through county GIS and identified vacant parcels, but,
I mean, there's one house on there, but I saw on Hamilton Overlook, they're showing all the little
but
vacant.
again, like I said earlier, they're pulling off the county tax map. And they probably don't have it updated to show there's a new house on it. Yeah, because you're correct, yeah. Yeah, we know we have to go through and identify that.
Oh, I think it should be a great
Just want to
tool,
show us.
be a helpful tool along with,
I think it's great.
yeah, it'd be very helpful tool.
Great.
All right. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I have.
Any other questions on that? Supervisors' comments, I put mine in writing, so if there are any questions, be happy to take those now or later, but does anybody else have any comments they'd like to make? Dave, Jeff?
I was at the retirement celebration for Tim River.
Yep, you were there and so was Jeff. Anybody else with any comments?
Yeah, I guess we should mention, just for the record, that we have an employee
Yeah,
who's here 15 years, who is retiring. His official last day was the day before Thanksgiving, but his official retirement date is December 29th. He's on vacation, wow, comp time. So, gonna be enjoying his retirement years down by the water.
and as of today, we have that date, we have a vacancy for actually a park and rec maintenance.
Tony, who does our parks and recs and helps with finance and board, he's gonna move up into that position, not the assistant maintenance supervisor, but that position. So we have advertised right now for parks, maintenance, parks and recs.
Okay, anybody else? All right, if we move on, we have a couple construction meetings from the municipal complex. Questions that anybody might have? Todd and I both do sit in on all those. And we have several change orders again. Todd, I'll let you run us through those. Did you want to talk about this at all, or that?
Not really, unless anyone had any questions. I just wanted to try to summarize where we
Payment.
are with the total project. The original contract was, I'm going to round this off, of 6.7 million. The net change orders, which is, we had the reduction, the big one was 423,000.
For the salt shed.
Some change orders that we added, so we still have a net reduction of 317,000. Which puts a revised contract at 6.4 million. Paid to date is 5.2 million. We're retaining $539,000, and the balance to finish meeting has not been presented for payment. At this point in time is 653,000. So we have roughly 1.9 outstanding to be paid here.
1.1, right?
1.1.
1.2.
Yeah.
1.2. Yeah, 1.19.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so we have 5 change orders to look at.
Yeah, change order that's numbered, I'm gonna look at it, but I'm gonna address it by your agenda item, like 1 through 5. 1, 2, 3, and 5. One was for the paving, which we needed to do in order to get the for the automated fence. We needed to get the base course laid down, so that was some additional paving that we did. We believe that's a very fair price. We won't price that out. Number 2 is a reduction, so it's actually credit of $3,197. That's for eliminating a portion of that sidewalk apron in the front of the building. It would really look more like a loading zone, far away from the building. The number 3, which is $4,063. This is for adding a couple additional doors for the e-cards. We did not plan for providing security, notwithstanding, but you know, if they have an emergency and there's a lot of people running around and so forth, you know, Stan and his group will have access to the EOC room. And then they'll have access to the restrooms that are between the admin office and the maintenance. So we added the key swipe cards to the door that leads to the maintenance area, and then one to the admin area, so that they have access to the maintenance room if they need it, as well as both bathrooms. So that was a request of the township. And I'm going to jump to number 5. That had to do with the cabinets in the break area. So 1, 2, 3, and 5. Were the request of the township, and I recommend approval of those.
And I think we can do that in one motion if the board so desires.
Number 4, which is change order number 26 in the amount of $2,954. This is one that, again, we need to approve it, but it's one that I would recommend is approved under the protest. This again is a result of the ductwork and the ceiling grid, additional ceiling grid for the diffusers. And that's the amount of $2,954. So I would be looking for 2 motions if the board is open to that. A motion to approve for the minutes, change order number 23, 24, 25, and 27. Do that as one motion. And then a motion to approve change order number 26 under protest.
I'll make a motion to that effect.
I'll second.
We do all 5 in one motion?
No,
Oh,
no, you were right, Jeff.
So you,
One motion, what I
You're right.
through the one motion is to approve change order 23, 24, 25, and 27.
that's
And
your,
then the second motion, and I know I know where Art's going, but you can still put that in the same motion, I think, one motion. That in that same motion, change order number 26 is also approved with that.
under
single one is
protest.
okay.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, so we will be approving 5 change orders as listed, 23 through 27, with number 26 will be under protest. Questions before we vote? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative, so we have approved 5 with 1 under protest. We have 4 applications for payment. They've all been reviewed by the architect, and
Right, and you find all of them.
so we can handle all those in one motion if the board is so inclined as well. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve payment for application number 13 for $225,381.31. And application number 11, which is for $39,390.49. And application number 14 for $9,675. And application 15 for $23,733.90.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the 4 applications for payment as noted. No further questions. We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved those requests for payments. And then I think next would be the budget adoption.
So that's been posted on the township website. It's been available in the office for public inspection, and it's also been published in the legal ad in the newspaper on November 14th and November 21st. So it is ready to be adopted by the board. So
Are there any questions before we would vote on adopting the budget? Any questions from anybody in attendance? All right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the Shrewsbury Township 2023 budget as presented in the summary.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. By the way, again, there are no tax increases included in that budget. Any further questions? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. The 2023 budget is adopted. And I think, Todd, you just wanted to comment on kind of where we are at Miller Park.
yeah, this is an updated schedule based upon our conversation last month. The project will go out for bid next week. This is for improvements at Miller Park, which is the pavilion and so forth. We'll receive bids on January 20th with the intent of the board awarding a contract February 6th, so we hopefully have very early spring construction.
And this is so everybody would recall, a 50 grant, right? 50.
I don't know the exact number offhand, but the estimated project is 580,000.
So half of that is coming from a grant. And the other half comes from an account that can only be spent on park improvements. Right. All right, are we ready to talk about a new township seal and logo?
Most important. Yeah, this is, if you recall, we had a lot of,
Debate,
I don't want to call it debate.
discussion.
Exchange of ideas.
Discussions.
An exchange of ideas.
A very friendly exchange, by the way.
It was very, very friendly, very interactive. There were two options that were kind of narrowed down. Basically, both of them appear to be the same. The difference is option B has a
Windmill or
very
rays?
large, bright sun rays. Option A has the smaller. That's the
Well,
only difference.
I'm seeing a windmill. I'm seeing a windmill up there. I'm
Which
not,
is not bad.
It's not so overpowering.
yeah, I'm leaning option A, but that's just my own preference.
Well, let's just go down the board. What do you prefer? I'm an A.
Hey,
So moved.
Do we need
Consensus.
consensus or a vote for that?
It's fine.
Okay. It looks like option A. Hope everybody out there thinks it looks, this is what we have now. And I did not know until we started this, actually, that was an S over a T. So hopefully this is more identifiable and easier to put together.
That's what I was thinking.
Plus, when I look at that, I see a peacock.
Yeah, it looks like a bird of some kind. So we thought it was
A green
the new
flamingo.
building and everything else, that it was time to focus on that. We also have a new mission. Well, actually, it's the first time mission statement and vision statement. So we're kind of trying to pull all that together with the mission statement. And I think we went over that last month, and vision statement to try to show other committees and commissions we have kind of where the board is focused at this time.
And in fact, I'd like to ask Jeff to extend a thank you to his wife,
Yes.
who is a commercial artist and made numerous renditions of the input from 5 or 6 of us. So
I hope that was
we
her.
appreciated her patience and
you take care of her.
I hope that was her favorite too.
I don't know which was her favorite, to be honest with you.
But yeah, pass along on behalf of the board our thanks for her.
And what do you
No.
want now? You just want, what format do you want something in?
JPEG.
I think my understanding, from what I understand, a raster, RASTER format is the sharpest and clearest when you go to enlarge it.
Interesting.
But she may know better than I do.
Okay,
We'll let,
trust me, I don't know.
we'll let you, her and Todd work that out. How's that?
Maybe I might just either give Todd a call.
Yeah, that's okay, right? Okay. All right, no more old business. We'll move to new business, and I think, Todd, we just have a kind of a standard form here that to extend our time to complete the comp plan, basically, because again, that's grant.
It's a grant
Funded.
money from your county planning commission through the community development block grant program. This is for the comprehensive plan. $50,000 grant for a $97,000 project. We call the remaining balances for contribution between the other disciplinary municipalities. So just need your formal authorization to sign that contract at the time period.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to extend the time frame for the regional plan update, basically the grant funding. Questions before we vote? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved the extension on our part. The next item is, we've talked about some special compensation among employees. This is mainly for the salt storage building construction. And noting that we had employees do things that are certainly not on their job description and far extended what we typically expect of them, and saved the township almost,
$250,000, over $250,000.
yeah,
Yeah, the salt shed, if you remember, we pulled that out, was 423,000. 423,000, with township crews building the salt shed, with the exception of us having the precast and poured the concrete, put the rafters up, and put the metal roofing, and the highest point is probably about 30 feet. That is far above and beyond their job description. So them doing that actually saved the township about $385,000, because we were able to do it for $138,000 versus $423,000. So the recommendation was that provide them with the special pay that, was presented.
right, it's a one-time special
One-time.
compensation related to what they did and a few other minor things that other employees were involved with at the same time. So this would just be a vote to approve going forward with some special compensation.
Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
We have a motion and a second that we will extend
Almost
some
got it.
special compensation to employees. Further questions? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved that compensation. We have 3 stormwater agreements. If they're all pretty standard, Todd, we just do them in one motion.
Do that all.
Make a motion to approve the 3 stormwater agreements, one for 304 Haintown Road, 2319 Potosi Road, and 12847 Susquehanna Trail South.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve those 3 stormwater agreements. Questions before we vote? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. We have approved those. Now we have a couple trash waivers. I guess we can handle those in one motion too.
Yes, I would recommend those.
Yeah, you do recommend.
If you would, in that motion, make it retroactive to October 1st.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the 2 trash waiver, 1001 Kitchener Road and 12051 Baltimore Street, retroactive to October the 1st.
People don't have to bring it up. If we're not here, we're just putting them around back. Okay.
Any further questions? We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. They are approved. We have 1 development right verification.
Yeah, we had looked at this before and we did not act on it. We thought there was potentially some additional development rates that was utilized. We did research the records, the county records, and we could not find any records
That were after 76.
Yeah, or the previous, so we got it for like 6 months.
Okay.
So they, under the ordinance, they were entitled to 7 development rights. 1 has to stay with the farm. 2 were utilized for a subdivision down on Glenville Road by the previous Mr. Nash, the father. So that means 4 that are available for use of transfer.
Right, is there any further questions or a motion?
I'll make a motion. We approve the transfer of development rights agreement between Township and Robert and Barbara Nash.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second question before we vote. We shall vote.
Aye.
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 5 votes to the affirmative. That's approved. And I think there's a little bit of correspondence. You want to comment on?
Yeah,
Paul?
I just want to bring to your attention, former board member, former planning commission member, who's a graduate of Penn State. I was asked by one of his colleagues if I would write a letter of recommendation on behalf of the township, which I did, and I think I provided a copy of that letter. If they had submitted Paul's name to receive be considered for a lifetime achievement award from his graduate school alumni society of Penn State for his environmental stewardship. So they did submit that, myself along with 2 or 3 other people were letters of recommendation, and we got word in early November that he was actually awarded that honor. So I just wanted to bring it to the board's attention.
Oh, well, good for Paul. Yep. All right. We've come to the opportunity for closing comments. If anybody has anything they'd like to say at this time, anybody with us virtually,
And
any comments?
Hey, maybe it's my equipment, but I just wanted to mention when Todd talks to you all, when you kind of turn to the right, I don't pick you up well at all. It's really tough to hear. So again, maybe it's my ears and my equipment, but I don't know, maybe Wendy has a better job
it's
of hearing it, but I have a really hard time hearing you, just so you're aware.
okay. No, I'll thank you for that. I'll try to move my lapel mic up a little higher and spread my body instead of my head. And this equipment is terrible. So hopefully in the new building, we expect to have much better equipment.
Right.
Thanks.
Another couple months.
Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it. And again, we're looking forward to some better equipment as we move. Anything else? All right. I would, before adjournment, note that our January meeting is Tuesday, January the 3rd, not Wednesday. And that's because it's the organizational meeting and the state dictates when we hold that meeting. So January the 3rd. Anything else for the good of the order?
Everybody has it on January 3rd?
I'm sorry.
Everybody has an organizational meeting?
Yes,
January 3rd.
You're gonna have to pick which one you like best.
you're gonna have to pick what, Brad. Yeah.
Be the shortest meeting, I bet. Pretty short.
Oh, we didn't know we were competing with railroad.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else from the board?
Motion to adjourn.
No, just the 3rd.
I mean, you can come on the 4th too, but it's gonna be a pretty light
The
meeting.
state requires the reorganization meeting to be on, basically it's the first Monday, but that's a holiday, so it becomes Tuesday. It's up to us then whether we hold our regular meeting at the same time. We could hold it Wednesday, but we've always elected to hold it at the same time since everybody's assembled. But every township and borough, right? It's everybody. Yeah. All right. Do we have a motion?
Motion for adjournment.
Everybody okay with it? We are adjourned.
Thank you, Wendy.
Good
Night,
night.
Wendy.
Night.
Ann.
Good night.